Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. So happy to have you here with us on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. In 2015, the year 2015, when Pope Francis addressed the United Nations, he used the words ideological colonization, which he defined as the imposition of anomalous models and lifestyles which are alien to people's identity and, in the end, irresponsible. When Western countries try to impose on nations in Africa or Asia models of the family or ideas about human sexuality, concepts of individualism that are foreign to those nations, that is ideological colonization, and we devote our first hour today to discussing this new colonialism. Our number, if you'd like to get in on that conversation, 888-318-7884, 888-318-7884. I am Cy Kellett, your host, and our guest this hour is Obianuju Ekeocha, who came to the world's attention in 2012 when she penned an open letter to Melinda Gates about birth control in Africa. Ekeocha is a Nigerian woman living and working in the United States as a specialist biomedical scientist. She's the founder of Culture of Life Africa, and she has a fantastic new book out called Target Africa, Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century. Obianuju Ekeocha, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Cy. I'm glad to be here this evening with you. I think you made a little mistake. I live in the UK. I live in the United Kingdom, not the United States.
Oh,
I think you might have said the United States.
that will be my. I get one mistake a week, so that's the right away. I blew my first mistake.
No problem. At least you didn't mispronounce my name, so that's pretty cool.
Did you see how hard I was working though to do that? Like I was sweating a little bit.
You did well.
Oh, thank you.
You did very well.
So, Obianuju, say I'm a billionaire or I'm the spouse of a billionaire and I want to help out African women by providing them with contraception. What might you advise me?
I would say, please no. I mean, African women are asking for all sorts of things. I come from Africa, and I was born, raised in Africa, grew to adulthood in Africa, and I know for sure so many women who were in my life and who, influenced me in so many ways, ask for different things, right? And the African women do not hide what they need at any point in time. And contraception, believe me, Sai, is nowhere near the top of that list. People are asking for basic human needs like food, drinking water, which many people, you would be surprised to know that up to 33% of the African populations in various countries don't have access to clean drinking water. People are asking for water security. Everyone has heard about what is going on with terrorism in some parts of Africa. In my own country, Nigeria, with Boko Haram, all the problems they're having, the problems they're having in the, in the northeastern part of Africa, with El Shabaab, we are asking for security. We're asking for education and training to be able to get into the workforce and to be able to do businesses. Those are the kind of things that African women are asking for. They're asking for maternal health care. They're asking for just basic medicines for themselves and for their children. So honestly, contraception is nowhere near the top of the list. It will never be chosen by most of the African women, at least the ones I know or the ones I've heard from.
Well, so you wouldn't. What if I were? I mean, how can I know for sure that African women really know what they want or what they need? Like, isn't that for me as an American billionaire to decide?
Mm-hmm. Right. This is exactly where the problem comes. This is ideological neocolonialism that we're speaking about, which stems from this same question you've asked, like, don't we know better than the Africans? That's called paternalism, right? Where it's really what is at the root of neocolonialism, where someone comes in and thinks, well, we do know better than you and we should decide for you. But that shouldn't be the case. If the African people are indeed free, we went through colonialism for more than 70 years, starting from in the 1800s, the late 1800s. African countries have now become independent. They're supposed to be sovereign. Every time they tell us we are free countries, we are sovereign countries. And yet, when donors come into African nations, a lot of them come in with this attitude that we know what we want for you, and we know what is better for you. And that's the attitude that we deplore, and that's the attitude that we're lamenting. That's the attitude of neocolonialism, and we are saying, may they set us free. Truly, may we be free, because at this moment we're not free.
888-318-7884 is the number. 888-31-TRUTH. Obianuju Ekeocha is our guest. Her book, Target Africa: Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century. You start the book with a little discussion of how you were patriotic as a child. You were born 10 years after Nigeria became a country. And
20.
Oh, 20 years. Okay. So I tried to make you older than you are. Sorry.
Oh.
But the image there is of young people so proud of the independence of their country and so happy and trying so hard in school and in this image that you paint of the Nigeria of your childhood, children and family seem to be central. Like why? Like that's the last thing you would want to attack.
Well, absolutely, because anyone who pays attention to world affairs and to the news would know that a lot of the African countries have, at different points in time, had all kinds of issues that have been worthy of news or worthy of discussion, all kinds of disasters and problems, poverty, famine, inadequacies within our systems in different countries. But the one thing that the Africans have is the resilience which is to be found within their family structure, within their family system. The Africans truly believe, and I think leave it out on a day-to-day basis, just as a matter of necessity, that the family is at the center of society, and the family for them is based strongly on marriage, marriage between man and woman, and within that marriage, protecting the children, and within that same marriage, protecting the elders who are the older generation. So we have this beautiful dynamic of the family that keeps people resilient even through problems, through some of the worst problems you can think about. And that's how I've seen it in various African countries that I've traveled to, and so many people I've spoken to from different countries.
Well, I found it heartbreaking. I don't know if that's how you intended it, but it came across somewhat heartbreaking that you and your friends at school as children, and then as teenagers singing in school and all that, it was very important, this song, We Are the World, that was produced, and I guess the proceeds went to help hungry people. But you would all sing it so proudly and happily. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. And you said you were much older when you realized that those words weren't about you, that you were supposed to be thought of as the poor, helpless African children.
Yes.
Those words were about other people helping you. Or supposed.
Exactly. That's precisely right, Si. I mean, we were singing this song thinking we're the ones who would go out and make the difference. We're the ones who would go out and raise the world and, just stand shoulder to shoulder with all these wonderful people that we saw on the television singing it, Michael Jackson and all these amazing musicians, American musicians. It was just so beautiful. And but then I grew up only to learn more about that song, and I think other songs have been sung like it as well. The one about Christmas and how it's never Christmas in Africa when there is no snow and there's no Christmas. But we've heard these kinds of music where it has a beautiful tune. It has the musicians are amazing and it catches, right? It catches in society and many people are singing it. But then you forget about the people who you're singing it about. That it's sometimes not necessarily what the impression the music is trying to relay or bring across is not usually usually the situation. It might not be everyone's situation. So as we sang this just growing up in Africa, in Nigeria particularly, we didn't realize that the song was kind of about us. This was at the time when there was famine, not in my country, but in another part of Africa. But however, the people singing it were thinking of little children like us, they were coming to help us. So, but in this way, I think there is a larger truth in this, in the phenomenon of what happened with that song. And that's why I actually put it near the beginning of the book, really. It's that a lot of times the Africans have been put in this position where we are the ones who are always being helped, and no one really expects us to rise and do anything at all for ourselves, let alone other people in the world, right? So we're still not being seen as fully equal. I know that this is, might annoy someone, but it's the truth, unfortunately, that African nations have been put on a kind of life support, which just goes on and on and on and on, right? And it's we have the lowest expectation for African nations, and I think it's paralyzed and crippled us in many ways.
Well, I want to ask you kind of a sensitive question before we take a break, and then we'll go to people's calls. And if you'd like to talk with Obianuju Ekeocha, just give us a call at 888-318-7884. So how much of this, I guess we have this colonialism, real colonialism, where they divided up Africa among European nations. And then we have this new kind of colonialism, which the Pope calls ideological and you call ideological, where it's supposed to be Western ideas will kind of conquer Africa now, not Western armies. But how much in the mind of an African leader or an African elected official is this kind of sense of, well, the white people or the Western people, they really do have the answers? How much is that internalized, and a kind of maybe that creates a fear of standing up and saying, no, that's not what we want in Africa?
Yeah, so many people know it, right? A lot of the Africans themselves do realize that there is a difference. There is something happening, but many times you see, Sai, the people who make decisions in African nations are at the top. They are what you might in your own country call the 1%, right? Yeah. When people speak of the 1% in Western world, it's usually like the wealthy ones. But in African nations, I'll say the 1% are also, in addition to being the wealthiest ones, they're also the ruling class, right? It's the one and the same people, and they're the ones making the decisions, and they are the ones who are in direct contact with the Western donors, with the Western world. They're the ones who, for example, go for parties with some of these Western foundations, for example, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or the Clinton Foundation. These are the African leaders who come to New York to attend a party being thrown by Bill Clinton. Some of our leaders went for Bill Clinton's 70th birthday party. They are, the ones in constant contact, but they have this. They have taken on this attitude, and I called it in my book aid addiction. They now have a kind of addiction to the aid that they get from the donors, but also to the relationship that they have with these millionaires and billionaires from the Western world. So it's what we're suffering from, because they're completely also removed from the rest of the people. It's the 1% in Africa don't have the links with the rest of the 99%. It's really hard to get across to them. But they're the ones who have taken on this attitude, and they're the ones who have, I think, kept us in a position where somebody can then hook us up to the ventilators that we sometimes don't necessarily need.
Right.
They've kept us completely inactive just by hooking us up to whatever it is that they're giving.
It's striking to me in reading the book Target Africa: Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century, how often the values of the regular African person, man or woman, seem to be upheld in the Catholic Church and attacked by modern kind of Western secularism. I want to talk about some of those when we get back. Like it seems to me and you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong, the average African person would be closer to the Catholic Church on population control, sexualization of young people, radical feminism, abortion, all the different sexual identities being kind of bandied about now as protected groups. We do have to take a break, but we'll be back with Obianuju Ekeocha to talk a bit more about how Africa is in the target sites of Western secularism right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
We're waiting for your call. Grab that line and get on board.
Sharing the gospel with family and friends can be challenging. It's especially hard when they won't even hear you out because of all the mental roadblocks they've built up. This is Carlo Broussard, and in my new book, Prepare the Way, my aim is to help you tackle that essential first step to apologetics and evangelization, getting people to listen with an open mind. Even our best witness can bounce right off folks like these if we don't prepare the way first, breaking down barriers and leaving minds and souls free to encounter the truth. I'll give you evidence and arguments and step-by-step strategies based on asking the right questions to help them overcome their obstacles and make a straight path for the Lord. Order your copy of Prepare the Way today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Homeschool Connections, an online provider of courses for your Catholic homeschool, is a sponsor of Catholic Answers Live. Homeschool Connections website is homeschoolconnections.com.
God helps those who help themselves. Preach the gospel always. When necessary, use words. We all hear sayings like these, and we assume they come from the Bible, the saints, or famous Christian writers. Nobody can seem to place their origin, but by sheer repetition, they've acquired a halo of truth. In my new book, What the Saints Never Said, I look at over 40 of these well-known sayings and track them back to their original sources. You'll be surprised at what I found. Some are close to what was really said. Many were misattributed or twisted beyond their original meaning, and more than a few of these sayings were simply made up. I hope by setting the record straight, I can make you aware of the theological errors that can lead us away from the faith and offer you authentic quotes from Scripture, saints, and scholars that will draw you closer to our faith. Get your copy of What the Saints Never Said by calling 1-888-291-8000, by visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or by asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. 2 fantastic hours today. Second hour, we're going to talk about a new movement, Men Rise Up, with Bill Donahue is going to be here to talk about that, about men taking their role as men in fully embracing the Catholic faith and fully living that out for the good of themselves and their families and their communities and, well, everything that Jesus promised us. When we live it out, all kinds of goods follow. This hour, we're talking with Obianuju Ekeocha, who is a Nigerian woman now living in the United Kingdom. But she has a brand new book, Target Africa, Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century. Obianuju, we do have a bunch of calls, but I wanted to ask you, I guess I wanted to get to individual issues, but there's a lot of calls and I don't want to hold people off. So let me just phrase it to you this way. I think we in the West think we're very smart about sexual issues. We've had a sexual revolution. You probably have heard of it that, swept the world in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And now we live in this new world. And it's not just a new world, but it's a new world that has to constantly have new things in it. We got to constantly have a new revolution that we're fighting for and a new, oppressed minority of this sort or that. How's the sexual revolution playing in Africa? Do you think it? Do people want it, and does it forebode well or ill for Africa?
Yeah, simply put, people don't want it, right? So the sexual revolution and everything within it, for example, let me just start with something like feminism. In most of the African countries, how we see feminism is really not how the people from the sexual revolution have defined feminism. It's not the feminism of Gloria Steinem. We talk about motherhood, of maternity, of how women just enjoy being wives and daughters and sisters. That is quite empowering for the African woman in so many ways, our identity as women. And it doesn't stop African women, by the way, from seeking education, seeking, promotions within their career or advancement within their different careers and different fields, but it's just this feminism or just femininity that loves men, that appreciates also the masculine. But no, we reject the sexual revolution for everything it stands for. Abortion is something that has been over and over again rejected in so many African countries. Only 4 African countries, by the way, have legal abortion, and the remaining 50 countries continue to fight against abortion in so many ways. There are countries that have allowed abortion for different exceptions, but it is only legal, fully legal, what you call abortion on demand. You have it in 4 countries. So about 80% of the African countries are still having all kinds of prohibitions and restrictions to abortion. And the population, the general masses of the people are in support of these prohibitions against abortion. So no, the African people reject it because we have cultural, kinds of cultural views and values that are directly opposed to everything that is within the sexual revolution.
I don't want to sound hopeless in any way, but we have seen in the Western world, country after country, and in our own country, the United States, state after state, kind of year after year get worn down, I guess, by the advocates of the sexual revolution. And even we see in countries such as Ireland, that was once such a Catholic place, and certainly there are special circumstances in Ireland, but now having its own abortion debate. Do you think there's strength enough in Africa to resist this, or do you have a more fatalistic view of it?
I can only pray and hope that, something like how you have the church in Africa is very strong. I mean, we have bishops who are solid, and the bishops are also very well respected within the society, right? Unlike most parts of the West, bishops, when they speak, the government usually listens. We've had bishops intervene, or other religious leaders as well intervene when an abortion law is about to be passed or something, or an abortion bill is about to be passed. Our bishops are always listened to. So I am very hopeful that this strength within the people, be it from the cultural and traditional leaders, but most especially from the religious leaders, that the African religious movement, which is a very powerful movement, by the way, would rise up and oppose these things and just keep being an obstacle to it. But the problem that we are having, the biggest problem we're having now, it's not the fringe or the handful of people who are pushing for these values that are against African cultures. It's the Western money coming in and bringing these things with it. It's the international Planned Parenthood federations who are coming into African nations and then paying for lobbying of the African politicians. Those are the problems. But I'm still hopeful that the church would rise and the other religious leaders as well would rise and the people would stand strong.
Obianuju Eke-Ocha is our guest. Target Africa is the book. Lots of people want to talk with you. The number, by the way, if you would like to talk with Obianuju Eke-Ocha, 888-318-7884. Shall we go to calls?
Sure.
All right. Aisha in Houston, Texas, listening to EWTN on Sirius XM satellite radio. You are on with Obianuju Eke-Ocha. Your question, please.
Hi, good evening. Hi, Obianuju. My name is Aisha.
Hi, Aisha. Hi.
I'm calling first of all to say congratulations on your book, and I thank you for the show, for speaking up as well for Africa and for all these women and family values. I just want to thank EWTN as well, because I saw you first on EWTN Live with Father Mitch Pakwa. And I just would like to support you and to know how can we support you. Do you have an organization that we can, in real terms, like, I know you're unafraid, and that's what attracts me to this whole thing. And is there a movement and how we can, in real sense, support you?
Sure. So thank you so much, Aisha. I'm really grateful. I run an organization called Culture of Life Africa. You can see more about my organization on cultureoflifeafrica.com. But you can read the book. I just would love people to be more informed. So Target Africa is it was published by Ignatius Press, and it's also on Amazon. Very easy for people to find, because I believe when people are well informed, they will go all out fighting, right? Especially the African people who are in diaspora. And I'm hoping that Africans, in the West would rise and see what is being done to our people, what kind of injustice being meted out on a lot of the African villages and the African people, especially people in more rural areas who cannot fight or speak up for themselves. So if you can read the book, be informed, and then for people in Western countries like America, United Kingdom, countries like France, Germany, these countries are in so many ways, they are the main donors to these African countries as far as governments are concerned. There are various ways to approach your legislators to find out, what, for example, the United States Agency for International Development, what are they funding in Africa? Because those are the ones that do a lot of damage, those who put in millions and even sometimes, yes, billions of dollars into providing, all kinds of dangerous contraceptives in parts of Africa where women don't even have access, to hospitals should they have side effects and things like that. So I think that those are the kind of things that are practical and one can do, obviously, immediately, just to start speaking out, get informed. And, you can support my organization, cultureoflifeafrica.com, if you want.
Aisha, there's the music, so we got to take a quick break. Thank you so much for that call. cultureoflifeafrica.com is Obianuju's organization. Target Africa is the book. We will be back with more of your calls for Obianuju Ekeocha after this. 888-318-7884 is the number. 888-31-TRUTH. We'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
Anna Mitchell.
I had this formative experience during one Sunday Mass in the Easter season in 7th grade. During the Gloria, I remember having this sense of being filled. If you can imagine what it must feel like to be a cup being filled with water, that's how it felt. It started at my feet and it moved up my body. And I've come to believe that that was the Holy Spirit. And I can really trace my zeal for the faith back to that moment.
The Sunrise Morning Show, Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
If only evangelization was easy. But the truth of the matter is that most of the time, it's not. Talking about the Catholic faith is enough of a challenge even before dealing with the roadblocks that keep people from listening with an open mind. Apologist Carlo Broussard recognized that as he wrote Prepare the Way, a guide to step-by-step strategies that readers can use to break down those barriers to the very existence of God and religious truth, barriers to basic Christian beliefs, and barriers to the distinctive teachings and claims of the Catholic Church. Don't let obstacles get in your way. Learn how to overcome them. Order your copy of Prepare the Way today by calling 1-888-291-8000, logging on to the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Did you know that Catholic Answers Live is on TV? What began as a monthly series on EWTN in April of 2017 is now going to be coming to you on a weekly basis. You can catch Catholic Answers Live TV Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN, with an encore at 2:30 a.m. on Sundays. We'll also be available soon on Apple TV, Roku, and the Augustine Institute's multimedia platform, Form. Make a point of making Catholic Answers Live TV part of your weekly viewing, and we'll see you on the airwaves. Welcome back. Cy Kellett, Catholic Answers Live, having more fun than I should be allowed to have, getting to speak with Obianuju Ekeocha and getting to say Obianuju Ekeocha over and over again. That's a lot of fun for me. Her book is Target Africa, Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century. It's from Ignatius Press. It's got a foreword by Robert George, who you will know as a very prominent scholar and pro-life activist here in the United States. She is the founder of Culture of Life Africa, which you can find at cultureoflifeafrica.com. And when we talk about ideological neocolonialism, it's a phrase that the Pope stole from Obianuju. Okay, maybe that's not how it went.
That's not true.
But it is a phrase that he has been very helpful in using and in reminding the world, look, just because you give money doesn't mean you get to tell people that they have to have legalized abortion or that they have to push contraception on people.
Yeah. So this is, I'm grateful. I'm grateful the Holy Father has brought this to our attention, and I mean, I think it's been happening for so many years, but we just didn't have this term. But ever since he has spoken about it over and over again, then we're courageous enough to just go after him. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I spoke at the United Nations on this particular theme, and then last month I spoke at the United Nations on this particular theme again, and I was speaking on behalf of the Vatican or on the Vatican panel. So that was great. But it's just to be able to stand on the shoulder, if I can say that, of the Holy Father, and just keep telling the world the African people do not want these things that you're bringing to us.
You know, his use of that phrase reminds me of Pope John Paul II when he over and over again used the phrase "culture of life," and it changed the way people think about it. We're not just anti-abortion. We're not just, you know, we want a culture of life. I think sometimes a simple phrase like that can really, it makes a difference in how people understand, oh, I have a clarity now of what we're fighting for and what we're fighting about.
Yes. Indeed.
888-318-7884, the number, 888-31-TRUTH, if you would like to talk with Obi Anuju. And I wanted to also ask you something about your depiction of women in Nigeria, and I won't try to speak for all of Africa, but Nigeria is the country that you were raised in, and in where you were raised, were you raised in a more urban or more rural setting? Where did you grow up?
I was raised in a very small city, but we also were about only 40 miles away from my ancestral home. So we would go back home, back to our ancestral home where my grandmother lives, many times a year, and that's the rural. That's really a village.
I see. So, but you described that when a baby would be born to one of the women in your neighborhood or wherever you were, there would be literally singing and dancing. Like people would actually, there was dances, there were songs that you sang, it was almost, it wasn't almost, it was a celebration, but it was a celebration that everybody knew what you're supposed to sing and how you're supposed to dance, and it was joyful when a baby would come.
True. Yeah, and this is my ancestral home. So we would, go back home to my village when a baby is born, because in my family we've had so many children born, but with every birth, and not just within my family, but anyone within our kindred, what we would call our kindred and our little clan, if a baby is born, everyone comes out, everyone dances, there is we have special chants, we have, special songs that we sing, but it's all praising God in our language. We're praising and thanking God for this baby that has been born. And it doesn't matter whether it's a baby born to a poor couple or a rich couple, whatever the circumstance of birth. No one is asking at that point, who is this baby, or where is the baby born from? No, we just celebrate this life that God has given, and in the words, just reflecting the generosity of God to give us a brand new life, another opportunity, a hope for the future. So we have that, and it's still ongoing. That any baby that is born, a message is sent. Even now that we all, myself, I live here in the UK, and some of my siblings live in London. If a baby is born, a message is still sent to my ancestral home. Believe it or not, even when the baby is not there, the baby's in London, there's people dancing about the birth of this baby and the motherhood that has just happened.
It's striking that that's such I know that people think that their feminism, when it's kind of anti-fertility feminism, is empowering women, but the fact is, women, I mean, the power of motherhood is this great good, and when it's celebrated, then that woman is upheld. She's not being oppressed by being a mother. It's striking how different that seems to me from where we are now in America, where it's almost like, pregnancy.
Yeah,
it's feared. I think fertility brings a certain fear to people.
It's very unfortunate because I have seen it as well, just living in the UK here, and I've only been here now 12 years, and it's one of the things that one of the, I'd say, cultural shocks that I got when I came here is that it's so different from the way that we take fertility and the way that we take motherhood in marriage. When a woman gets pregnant, usually people are rejoicing, people are happy, and the opposite is always the case when there is infertility, or where, even of course something like a secondary infertility. So maybe a woman has 2 children and she's trying to get pregnant again and she can't. There is so much strife and so much, so much sadness. But once a woman gives birth or once a woman gets pregnant, so much joy. And I believe that there's something naturally good to it. That this is the nature of women, right? We have been created to give birth. We have been created to nurture life within us and then deliver babies, right?
Yeah.
This is how God made us. And so there has to be something powerful that within this culture, even predating us, our Christianity, predating it, that there is a recognition that indeed we, as a woman, God has given you like a special mission or this special gift by allowing you to be a mother, and we celebrate it all the time. That blessing comes.
Obianuju Ekeocha is our guest, and I do want to recommend to the reader, first of all, I want to highly recommend Target Africa, Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century. But if you want a short read, a real quick read, just put in there, just type into your web browser, Open Letter to Melinda Gates, and you will find Obianuju's open letter in 2012 to Melinda Gates, because Melinda Gates, in order to help African women, decided that she was going to raise $5 billion to provide and encourage contraception in Africa. Obianuju, I saw you on the BBC discussing this with a woman. Well, you were discussing it. She was more or less yelling, but you were discussing this idea, and with her. And it's her take was that, well, you were saying, well, women want clean water, they want food for their children, they want education. And her take was, well, they can have that if they would just use contraception and have fewer children. So that struck me as, wow, the problem in Africa is there's too many Africans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but they would never accept that that's what the interpretation, that the natural interpretation that should come with how they state it. But, birth control is what African women need. Even when you tell them, no, let them get educated first. I think myself, I believe so much in education. Let the women get educated. Let them be able to even read the inserts of the IUDs that you're giving them.
Yeah.
Let them be able to understand what it means, what side effects actually means. But you cannot just go to someone who has not been educated, who has absolutely, no way of understanding some of these things, and you tell them this is what you need. No, they need a lot more than that. They need completely different things than that in order to be able to come out of poverty. But this is how they talk to us. This is how they treat us in media, and I saw that during that particular BBC interview. But it still continues at the United Nations. The woman was only regurgitating the same talking points that we hear at the UN, the same talking points that we have heard from people like the Gates and people like the Clintons, who are pushing very hard for family planning in different African countries. So it's a talking point, and our job is to completely neutralize that and to completely expose that for the lie that it is.
Amen to that. Amen. Kathleen in Southwest Illinois is on the line. She's listening on 91.9 FM Covenant Radio. Kathleen, your question for Obianuju.
Well, you just led into it, because I was just going to ask about that, because some of these foundations are doing some really good work in some ways, like with the Gates Foundation, like with their polio and trying to eradicate the world of polio. That's great, but they seem not to be respecting the cultural differences on these life issues. And so that was my question: is how does the conversation go? But when you talk to them about that, but also, if when you share with them some facts, because some people seem to be under the mistaken impression that our world is overpopulated, and really it's quite the opposite. So I'm curious how it goes when you share some facts with them.
Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. This is excellent, and I love this because it's always good, especially if we're coming from a Catholic perspective, right, that we show some goodwill, right? It's not as if I'm just after the gates for no reason. We do know of their good works. We do know of all the wonderful foundations they lay in Africa before 2012, when this massive contraception program started. The gates, and that's why they were able to move this contraception agenda so fast within a very short space of time, because they had a lot of goodwill already in Africa for all the things that they had done. But the Gates came with everything that they came with, their family planning projects, their own ideas, their own ideals. Not only without consulting the African people, but they had done some research. There were some peer-reviewed research. I had read articles that Gates went in, did experiments in different parts of Africa on the injectable contraception, and they found out that it was going to be dangerous and it was going to increase the susceptibility to HIV. They still went ahead and did the project. So then you question the goodwill. Whether I've tried to reach them, yes, they hear me speaking all the time. I mean, these people are very powerful. And I speak in different African countries. Sometimes it's in some of the national news. And yes, the Gates Foundation have enough people working for them in Africa that they monitor who's speaking for or against them or against their work. And they do know of me, but they've never given me audience. They've never given me a chance to speak to them. I don't know if anyone has any direct connections. I would love to sit down with people like the Gates and other people who have also done other things, who are doing other good things in African countries. It would be wonderful to sit with them and show them the problems when they bring in these things that are directly opposed to our way of life. What happens to women when they have side effects in Africa, because we've traced some of that. What happens to women when, for example, they have abortions in countries where abortion is not even legal? What happens? Because there are all these Western countries who come in and they're moving their agenda. Sometimes they are also allegedly performing illegal abortions in African countries, even though they are Western countries and they're supposed to be obeying, the laws of the countries. But we've tracked different things to different parts of Africa, especially the rural areas. I'd love to share some of these things with them, some of our findings, to show that with the culture of the people, these are things that we have inherited from generations and generations, and that these have been things that have been good for us. They've been good to help to galvanize our communities, to help to set us in firmer family points, but then they come in with their own values that would go against all of that. If you bring in contraception, what happens to marriages? What happens to women within their homes? So I would love to discuss it, but no one has given me a chance as of yet. I have worked with different government officials, but just not anybody anybody who is presently funding any of these things.
Okay, Kathleen.
Thank you very much.
Kathleen, I had to say I really appreciate your point about the population, control agenda and all that, and that the way you phrased it about that there are some people who still believe in this, because it is the population stuff is nonsense. It always was, but I just don't think enough people have gotten the message. And I will let you know that in Obianuju Ekeocha's brand new book, Target Africa, Chapter 1 is population control, population explosion, alarmism. So I will commend the book to you, Target Africa, Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century. We have to take a quick break. So thanks, Kathleen, for the call. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Obianuju right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
This is Bishop Robert Baer, and you're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Catholic Answers is a media ministry that serves Christ by explaining and defending the Catholic faith. We help Catholics grow in their faith, we bring former Catholics home, and we lead non-Catholics into the fullness of the truth. Our goal is to be the most trusted and accessible source for sharing, explaining, and defending the Catholic faith through as many media as possible, from personal contact to the most innovative means of mass communication. Have questions? We've got answers. Catholic Answers. Visit us today at Catholic.com or call us with your questions at 619-387-7200.
Pope Francis said, "The key that opens the door to faith is prayer." Join St. Paul Street Evangelization by running a prayer station in the public square. You don't need to be a professional apologist or theologian. Just listen to the needs of the people you encounter. Offer encouragement, take prayer requests, and pray with people. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
We live in an age of indifference. Does truth exist? Maybe. Is there a God? Who knows? Does it matter what religion you believe in? Probably not. If you think so, fine. I'm spiritual, but not religious. Apologist Matt Nelson says this indifference is the great spiritual sickness of our age, a product of the relativism that dominates our culture. And rather than remain indifferent, he did something about it. In his new book, Just Whatever, Matt looks at the different kinds of indifference you likely encounter in your friends and family members, and maybe in yourself, and offers an antidote to the problem that plagues our age. Order your copy of Just Whatever today by calling 1-888-291-8000, logging on to the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. In this hour, we are joined by Obianuju Eke-Oche, the author of a brand new wonderful book about how Western culture and Western countries, Western institutions, including Western governments, impose on Africa, or at least are doing their very best to try to impose on Africa, all kinds of things that do not connect with the values of the people of Africa, the 54 different countries of Africa. Certainly the kind of anti-fertility views of the Western society are foreign to African women, African family, African men as well. But those are being pushed. Other things being pushed are, well, all the different aspects of the sexual revolution. I suppose there's this idea that, well, it's been so successful to us, we should share this gift with everyone, because we've got divorce and everywhere, and we've got all kinds of, we've kind of broken our society. So it's definitely going to be good for you, Africa. That's an unfortunate state of things, but it does seem to me that it's just that ironic that where people are happy to welcome children and to keep their families together and to, even in very difficult circumstances, to celebrate and be joyful, and where we're depressed and addicted and suffering, but we want to sell you on what we've got.
Yeah, and it's the thing that you have that doesn't really work. You see, there are so many beautiful things within Western culture, and I always like to point that out. There's so many beautiful things in your culture and so many beautiful things that have come from the West, and all of us around the world are enjoying that. But why is it that people pushing these things, some of these donors are coming in and they're trying to push on us the worst elements, within the Western culture? Why are you trying to push on us the exact same pathway that has led to women, not liking marriage, women being, completely against men, or women not accepting motherhood or not liking motherhood, or things like abortion that has caused women so much hurt and pain over the years? Why are they pushing these things on us? Hypersexualization of children that has led to so much STIs on the increase all the time. Anytime that CDC, the Center for Disease Control, whenever they bring out a report, it's always very high numbers of this, that, and the other in terms of sexually transmitted infections, sexually transmitted diseases. Why do they want then to bring us the same things in Africa when we are suffering already and overburdened by poverty and so many inadequacies within our own systems and so many problems within our own the realm of our own governments? We want the good things, not the bad.
And I wonder how much of the do-gooder mentality here in the West is connected with the fact that Western media is addicted to just sharing bad news about Africa. I mean, if you just followed just pick ABC News or something, for example, or CNN or whoever, and said, well, what's Africa like? Just watch a year of their coverage. You would think Africa is just the most horrible thing that ever happened. Nothing good ever happens there.
It's very unfortunate. Yeah, they cover the worst of us, and the most important things within African cultures, within African customs, they do not reflect it one single bit. So that's it. We are hoping that people, we one day would just start telling our stories. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I had to write the book, because it just felt like no one is talking about us in the way they should. No one is going deep into the African culture, African traditions to pick out what is, the beautiful treasures that we have, how we see marriage, for example, how we see children as gifts, how, women and men see each other within marriages. Those are beautiful things, and those are treasures that I think the Africans have and we can share with the world at a point in time like this. So, but they don't cover us that way, the media, the Western media, they don't.
Really? Because usually the Western media is so good. They're so unbiased and I'm so sorry. Beg your pardon. I do want people to know that you are super active on Twitter. And I'm going to calls. Don't worry, callers. I'm coming to you. That you're super active on Twitter. And people can get you at Obianuju. And that's at Obianuju. Am I correct? Did I get it right?
Excellent.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I got high grades. And also, they can find out all about the work that you do at cultureoflifeafrica.com, cultureoflifeafrica.com. Let's take a call. Let's go to Paul in St. Louis, listening on Covenant Radio. Paul, thank you for your call. Your question for Obianuju.
Do you think we will get an African pope someday? Do you think Cardinal Sarah might be a candidate, or are there others?
Well, hi, Paul. Thank you so much for asking the question. I get this question, as you can imagine, maybe about 4 or 5 times a day.
Do you really?
Day of the year. No, I'm just kidding. But a lot of people have asked me this question, and yes, a lot of people ask me this question because of Cardinal Sarah. Here is my answer. We belong to a universal church. Before I came to the West, all I knew was just my country, but the one thing that really connected me to people in other parts of the world was the fact that I was a part of the Catholic Church. And we believe so much in the universality of the church. It doesn't matter whether you're in Nigeria, whether you're in Cameroon, or whether you are in Canada, your bishop is a bishop. A cardinal is a cardinal. The Pope is our Pope for everyone. So it's a beautiful universal church that, it doesn't matter where our Pope comes from. I believe that our Pope can come from anywhere that God wants. At least we know for sure that our Pope cannot always be like an Italian Pope. As we saw from John Paul, what happened with Pope St. John Paul II, and our Pope can come from any part of the world. But the beauty of the church, of the Universal Church, is that whoever is the Pope, we believe so much in the influence of the Holy Spirit, and that's it. I love being part of the church, which is so universal that I know at any point in time our Pope can come from any part of the world. Our Pope can even come from Africa or any other part of the world.
Okay, Paul? Oh, sorry, Paul dropped. I guess he was so enamored of it.
Right.
So you're saying yes, we're definitely. Oh, wait a second. That was. I love that. I mean, I'm so glad you remind us. Look, it's a universal church. Doesn't matter if the Pope. I mean, we could even have a Pope from, I don't know, San Diego someday. It would be just fine. The world would survive it. But
it's a universal church.
Right, but it does seem like the law of averages. At some point, we're going to get an African Pope here coming along, right? We got lots and lots of Catholic people in Africa. We also have
200 million of us.
How many Catholics?
200 million Catholics in Africa. So
what?
I think about a whole fifth of Africa is Catholic, and our Catholic Church is only about 100 years old, so just a little bit over. So we are a thriving church. We're a young and thriving church.
That is so exciting to hear. I didn't know it was 200 million. Wow.
Sure.
That, boy, I don't know. That's more than half the population of the United States. We're not even close to that here. 200 million Catholics in Africa across 50. Well, your country, Nigeria, is split. Well, I shouldn't say split. That's not the right word. But it's percentage-wise, there are roughly equal numbers of Muslims and Catholics. Is that correct?
And Christians. But then I think about half of the Christians are Catholics, you see.
I see.
So it's, so we have about half of our country is Muslim, the people mostly the tribes in the north, the Hausas. But then in the south, we have the Christians. So we kind of have the Muslim, not the Christian south, roughly, right? But a lot of Catholics. But one thing you need to realize is that the Catholic Church in Nigeria and other parts of Africa have, kind of put themselves in this position where they're serving community and they're serving society. We have most of the schools, a lot of the private schools, the Catholic schools, a lot of the hospitals are Catholic hospitals, and we are serving communities in such a way that I know places where Muslims even send their children to Catholic schools, even though they know their children are going to come up with a lot of Catholic values. So it's always kind of beautiful to see that a lot of Muslim children in some parts of Nigeria go to Catholic schools, because those are simply the best schools. Your children come out with the values, they come out with everything, fully formed human beings. So we do have that kind of influence, and also we've worked with different Muslims at different Muslim leaders at different points in time when we've been fighting over things like abortion. Then the Muslims become very strong allies, because they are in so many ways against abortion, against contraception. So when things come up, say within Parliament or within other parts of legislature, they're very active, and they're always very ready to join hands with us and fight things like that.
Well, thank you so much, Obianuju Eke-Ocha, for a wonderful, wonderful hour. Really, it went so fast. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Target Africa, Ideological Neocolonialism in the 21st Century is the book. You can get it from Ignatius Press, and I highly recommend that you do. If you really want to understand what's going on in the world today, Obianuju Eke-Ocha is one of the people you should know. We'll be right back after this with more Catholic Answers Live. Would you like to become a Catholic Answers Live parish partner? We need you to help us spread the word at your local parish. We'll give you bumper stickers, window clings, flyers, everything you need to let your parish know about the best Catholic radio show on the air. We want you to partner with us. Email us at calpartners@catholic.com today and become a Catholic Answers parish partner.
Over the years, we have heard thousands of stories of how the ministry of Catholic Answers and Catholic Answers Live has changed lives all over the world. Do you have such a story? We'd love to hear how Catholic Answers has changed your life. Send your story to us today. Email us at mystory@catholic.com, or you can call 619-387-7200 to make an audio recording of your story.
Hi, this is Trent Horn, and you've probably heard me explain Catholicism to non-Catholic callers on the radio or engage opponents in formal public debates. I've always hoped these interactions would show people how to graciously defend and share our faith. But they're not enough. That's why I've created a weekly podcast that will help Catholics answer the toughest objections against our faith. Every episode of the Council of Trent will provide listeners with a conversation roadmap that will help them share their faith with anyone. Keep in mind that I hate boring lectures. These podcasts will contain entertaining, informative, and practical explanations of the faith, as well as interviews with the best Catholic writers and speakers in the world today. Visit TrentHornPodcast.com today to find out how you can subscribe to my new podcast. That's TrentHornPodcast.com.
What difference does it make who or what you worship, or what you believe? Sharing the faith used to make some people mad because it challenged their own strong beliefs. Today, it makes a lot of people yawn because they don't have strong beliefs about anything. Religious indifference is the great spiritual sickness of our age, a product of the relativism that dominates modern culture. This is Matt Nelson, and in my new book, Just Whatever, I'll take down the building blocks of religious indifference one by one. We'll look at the different kinds of indifference you tend to encounter in your friends and family members to see where they come from and why they're seductive. What you believe matters. Find out why and what to do about it in my new book, Just Whatever. You can order your copy of Just Whatever by calling 1-888-291-8000, by visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Are faith and science compatible? Join us this September 27th to the 30th as we tackle the topic at Catholic Answers 5th National Apologetics Conference. We've got an all-star lineup of speakers guaranteed to jumpstart your faith, including our very special keynote speaker, Raymond Leo Cardinal Burke. Visit CatholicAnswersConference.com or call 1-888-291-8000 today to register. That's CatholicAnswersConference.com.
Can you trust the basis of the Christian faith? The Christian faith is under constant attack today in numerous ways, but the attack that does the most damage is the one that asks a deceptively simple question. What if your faith is based on a myth? The skeptics come with arguments to cast doubt in numerous ways, often attacking the reliability of the New Testament and the Gospels. And the sad news is that most people don't know how to answer these charges. The good news is that there are answers to each and every one of them, good, solid answers. That's why Catholic Answers Studios has just released Jimmy Akin's new DVD, The Dawn of Christian History. With his characteristic wit and passion as a master storyteller, Jimmy takes you through an exciting detective story that reveals how history supports the Christian faith. Order your copy of The Dawn of Christian History today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Hi, this is Tim Staples. Are you looking for an on-fire Catholic speaker to come and speak at your conference or parish event? We've got a whole host of Catholic Answer speakers just waiting to get on a plane and come see you. Go to CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com to get all the information you need to make your event the talk of the town. That's CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com. We look forward to seeing you.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back for the second hour of our Great Big Monday show here at Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host, infected, I think, with a terrible dose of toxic masculinity. Maybe not. Perhaps not. But I have to say our culture is having trouble getting its story straight about men. Are we too masculine? Are we not masculine enough? Are we so masculine that we are toxic to the environment? It's certainly for young people trying to figure out their own way in life and what it means that they are young men. It's a difficult, very difficult environment, I think, to try to figure that out. But even for those of us who are older and have given up worrying about our masculinity, or pretty much have, it's an environment that is challenging to know what the Lord is calling from us in this time. So we're discussing men. We're discussing masculinity. We are discussing how to be a man who fully takes up his faith this hour. Our guest is Bill Donahue. Bill is a curriculum specialist at the Theology of the Body Institute. He's an author, instructor, and international speaker with over 25 years of experience in mission, evangelization, and education. He's got a background in visual arts, philosophy, and a master's in systematic theology. That's what I'm talking about. That's a man right there. Most importantly, he is the husband of Rebecca and father of 4 children, and he lives in one of America's 50 greatest states, Pennsylvania. Bill Donahue, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Cy. Thanks for that awesome introduction.
Well, you're an awesome guy, but now what is you got to help me here, because you and Chris Stefanik have a big project going that is meant to help men. And help men to rise up, I suppose. Out of what? Rise up out of what?
Well, you just mentioned that whole hashtag. There's so many hashtags flying around these days, but toxic masculinity. Just last year, it seemed that men were tanking all around us with the revelation of Harvey Weinstein and so many men. Bill Cosby, in our own Philadelphia, Bill Cosby just this past week found guilty. And a failure in manhood. So this toxic masculinity all around us. We're praying last year. We're looking at the culture, and we're looking at men. And a number of us got together and prayed and said, we need a tonic of masculinity. It's not toxic. It's a healthy. We need a healthy dose of God's original design for men. It really matters. It's not irrelevant. Our sexes, our gender is not a social construct, but God is literally trying to say something and give something to the world through masculinity, and Rise is really the reset. It's trying to get back to that original blueprint and it's been awesome so far. And we're in our fourth launch, our fourth 30-day challenge that literally starts tomorrow.
That is so providential, and I'm so glad you do, because any men listening or women who would like to share this with men, Rise is a 30-day challenge, and over the course of those 30 days, the men are, I think, like you said, they're coming out more on fire in their parish life, more on fire for their faith, ready to keep progressing forward. It's like a reset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we walk them through. So Rise, you go to menriseup.org. You take the challenge. It's a 30-day transformative journey, really, that every day, 3 to 5 minutes, there's a video from Chris Stefanik, and then I did the written content with reflections and daily quote and challenge, a couple of minutes, and it moves men through their identity as, first off, a beloved son. The whole first week is on being a son, then a brother, and what that really entails, accountability and authenticity. Then spouse, a man's called to love woman and be a steward of her beauty. And then fatherhood, the full blossoming of a man. So we're trying to guide guys through this, because for many of us, for a couple generations now, we haven't been mentored. We're not really sure. We're coming from dysfunctional and broken families. So Rise is really guiding guys through this sense of who they are and what they're called to be.
And so you said this is the fourth launch. Tell us a little bit about what the response that men are giving you, individual men are giving you.
Sure. We began, we did all the production, we did all the work last summer and into the fall, and wrapped up in December. And so January was our first launch, January 15th. We really put our heart and soul and spirit into the production that's aesthetically powerful and beautiful. 4 signature videos filmed on location, guiding through men's stories, 4 different men. And when we set it out there, it just started to catch slowly but surely. And some powerful reflections and insights from men right off the bat shared in the platform. And then people like Archbishop Chaput, Monsignor Bransfield, the General Secretary of the USCCB, stumbling on these things and saying, wow, this is a gift for men, and giving us incredible words. Jason Everett, Matt Fradd. And with that, through social media, through Facebook and things like that, thousands and thousands of men now, and suddenly we're getting subscriptions from South Africa, from England, Ireland, Scotland, Australia, and we're blown away by the online community that's building. Guys are saying, thank you for reminding me what prayer is. Thanks for reminding me that I'm loved by God, not for what I can do or produce, but just because I exist. Men really needed to hear that, because they think their identity, in the culture anyway, is just how productive are you? What can you do? Thanks for helping me rekindle my love for my wife. I mean, we're getting emails from women. What is happening to my husband? What is Rise? Things are different. So again, just kind of a slow burn, and it's starting to spread. And we can't wait for more and more men to get this. Our dream is that men in every parish across the country and the world go through this portal, get the reset, and come into their parish life in a whole new way, and their family life, most of all.
So just say, for example, somebody hears this and says, I'm gonna do those 30 days. Can you join by tomorrow to start? If you go to Men Rise Up?
You can join, absolutely. So menriseup.org. You can find our challenge starts Tuesday. We got 4 hours, 52 minutes, and 14 seconds until the launch. Guys, it's $1 a day, so it's about $32 with a 30-day challenge. And once they're in for life. You're part of the Rise community. You can reset and do the challenge again if you want to. And many guys, when they finish the 30 days, they say, I want to go back. They start over again. And then they're in the online community. When you comment on a reflection or a video from the day and someone replies, it could be 2 years from now. You're drawn back in through an email, and you're still part of the Rise community. So men can sign up right now, right away, in the next couple of days for the May 1st launch.
And how much of a commitment do you ask for from men? I mean, what is the person going to do on a daily basis through those 30 days?
Sure. So guys tune in. You know, there's morning guys, there's night guys. Depends on when you want to do it or throughout the day. But it's generally a 3 to 5 minute video in the morning. You just watch it. You read the quote of the day and the challenge. We try to keep the challenges very practical, very real. Anything from just be still for 60 seconds and realize God loves you. And then moving up as we go through the weeks, be attentive to your wife today. Do something without being asked. put a Post-it note around the house, sharing your love for your children, a million different practical things. And as guys do that, they find that the simple 3 to 5 minutes in the morning starts touching their day. Like, what's the point of today's reflection? What's the challenge? 4 times during the 30 days, we have a signature video. So it might be 8 to 10 minutes of again, beautifully filmed video telling a guy's story, and then a little bit of a longer reflection. So 4 times during the month, you might have a 10 to 12 minute commitment. And again, guys pop in all day long. They jump in. They want to see other guys' comments, reply to them. So it's a very small time commitment, but we're seeing guys drawn into the community, which is just what we dreamed of.
888-318-7884 is our number. Bill Donahue is our guest. We're talking about Men Rise Up. Rise is the new kind of, I don't even know is it a project, or how would you phrase it? Movement? I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, we really do feel it's a movement. I mean, the way it all came together with a different bunch. So we want to call it a movement, not a program.
If you have questions about the program, or if you have questions about the situation men face today in living out their faith, and in more in broader terms, living out the manhood that God has given them as a gift, 888-318-7884 is the number. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back to take your calls for Bill Donahue right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Every question is important. Ask yours today on Catholic Answers Live.
If only evangelization was easy. But the truth of the matter is that most of the time, it's not. Talking about the Catholic faith is enough of a challenge even before dealing with the roadblocks that keep people from listening with an open mind. Apologist Carlo Broussard recognized that as he wrote Prepare the Way, a guide to step-by-step strategies that readers can use to break down those barriers to the very existence of God and religious truth, barriers to basic Christian beliefs, and barriers to the distinctive teachings and claims of the Catholic Church. Don't let obstacles get in your way. Learn how to overcome them. Order your copy of Prepare the Way today by calling 1-888-291-8000, logging on to the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Atheists claim theists are essentially no different than atheists because we reject gods too, such as Greek and Roman gods. But this is plain absurdity. What's our reason? First, it's an abuse of language. A theist believes in at least one God. An atheist doesn't believe in any God. They're mutually exclusive terms. To say a theist is an atheist to most gods is like saying a married man is a bachelor to most women. Second, it's bad reasoning. To say I'm an atheist because I reject some gods is like saying I'm an anarchist, one who rejects all forms of government because I reject communism and fascism, some forms of government. But that's silly. So the claim that atheists and theists are no different doesn't hold water. I'm Carlo Broussard with the ready reason for Catholic Answers, Catholic.com.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. In this hour, we are talking about Rise, a new movement for Catholic men, one that is very simple to participate in, that can have profound effects on your life, and especially given these times where, as our guest Bill Donahue was saying, I mean, for one thing, men are behaving badly. We do see a lot of men behaving badly in our world. But for another thing, I think masculinity itself is under attack from all kinds of things, from everything from you always want to have a word that's more powerful than easy, but the easy access to pornography practically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that really is a great difficulty to many, many men, all the way to, certain parts of the feminist movement who will denigrate men, certain parts of the kind of modern liberation movements who think men are the problem, all that kind of thing. I don't mean to cry and make men victims or something, but it is difficult to get a bead on how to be a man in the current situation.
Yeah, I think we're. Guys typically, men are more visually stimulated, and we're living in a hypersexualized culture where we're bombarded by these images every day. And yeah, pornography just hits men right there, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it just hits them and it takes them out. Here's what we do in Rise. As the days and the weeks develop through the 30-day challenge, we go deeper and deeper, and we do address that issue. And we say, one of the reflections Stefanik gives is, look, you've got testosterone. Don't be afraid. Here's what you do with it.
You're going to survive.
You're going to be all right. So we in a couple of minutes, boom, head on, we face it, disarm it, and say, yeah, it's a God-given gift, but you got to put that eros, that passion, in the right place to lift up woman. So rather than collapse in fear and think I'm dirty, it's saying, what am I made for? I'm made for authentic love. So we do address that issue and many others in the challenge.
And the challenge is Rise. You can find out all about it at menriseup.org. Bill Donahue is one of the founders of it and is our guest this hour. And we have lots of folks on the phone. Bill, ready to take some calls?
Sure.
All right, let's go to Andrew in Costa Mesa, California, watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Andrew, your question for Bill Donahue.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. This is probably one of the least talked about issues right now, currently in our culture, not just amongst Catholics and other Christians, but yeah, in society, we really have ignored our men and blamed them for so many things. Not that we don't deserve it, but damn,
Well, Andrew, I was just share a statistic with you. Men are responsible for half the problems in the world. 50% of the problems in the world are caused by men.
That makes sense. It's good math.
Yeah, I looked that up. Andrew, sorry to interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. No, but yes, what you guys were talking about, the pornography issue was very, very relevant. And yeah. Anyways, I wanted to ask Bill a question about Jordan Peterson and how he's relevant in this, fighting this, just empowering men to take up their cross and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks for that. It's funny. Literally about 5 or 6 days ago on Facebook, I was reading an article and Jordan Peterson was quoted, and I thought, wow, who is this guy? I love it. I put it up on Facebook, and people were a lot of thumbs up, wow, Jordan Peterson, love this guy. But honestly, I just stumbled on the quote. I need to introduce myself to him. So thanks for confirming that. I've heard that he is really, as you say, hitting some solid truths from a clinical psychologist perspective. He's not sort of churchy. He's not doing it from a theological perspective. Without reading and studying much on him yet, I would say that I kind of like that approach. I think with Rise, we are deeply, it's Catholic, it's got deep theological roots, but at the same time, we have a wide net. We want to approach guys from building up that human foundation. If Jordan Peterson's doing that, I think it's great. I think we have to do that reboot with language and addressing it from a sort of natural law or reason or logic or science perspective is a great foundation. You know what I mean? So I'm interested in going further with Jordan Peterson. So thank you.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think I might try this out. I love Chris Stefanik. Yeah, remember him from Confirmation.
Yeah, well, you just head over to menriseup.org because you are within a few hours of the next 30 days starting. So, Andrew, give it a try, menriseup.org. Thanks a lot for that call, Andrew. And I know Jordan Peterson has become a big thing. I kind of feel like I'm in your position, Bill. I probably should know more about him because I know he's having a powerful effect on lots of men, lots of young men. But sometimes people have a powerful effect, and that has an edge of what might be unhealthy to it because we can sometimes overreact to things. Right. But I don't know I don't know one way or another about Jordan Peterson. I have to find out more about him. William in Little Rock, Arkansas, listening on the EWTN app. You are on with Bill Donahue. Your question, please.
Well, Bill, first of all, thank you very much for your Rise program. It sounds like it's just going to be excellent.
Thank you.
I'm calling to know, see if you found out yet about the recently revealed University of Texas at Austin program on maleness that, as best we can tell from the news reports, is designed to rehabilitate college males from being male.
Oh, dear.
Something for you guys. Yes, Lordy. They're looking for a chairman of the department now, and apparently are trying to select some professors who will help men get over the idea of needing to be the family provider, the leader of the family, and that kind of thing. So it's always kind of helpful to know what the enemy's doing. So I thought I'd see if you've heard of those folks.
Bill, have you heard of that?
I've heard. Yeah, I've not this particular case, but in the last number of months, I've heard similar things happening at the university level. I have to say, sadly, and I teach at a Catholic college, a university. They're a seedbed for some of the craziest ideologies, and this is one of them. It's this idea that everything regarding masculinity and femininity actually is a social construct that we have to just chuck and start fresh with this idea that we can literally reconstruct or become anything we want, regardless of our anything biological or ontological, really. Sadly, there's no cure here. You are your body, and you are a male body or a female body. It really isn't about chucking it all, but going back to the blueprints in Genesis and trying to figure out, why did God make them male and female in his image and likeness? Rise is a way to go back to kind of look at those blueprints and figure it out. It's a sad disservice, University of Texas and any other university, thinking like the idea is to run from it. There's a book by Bishop Fulton Sheen called Old Errors, New Labels. And I really have to say, this idea of recovering from being male is kind of Gnostic. It's as if the real me is pure spirit, and my body is just this distraction, and it just keeps getting me into trouble. The church has faced this before. The answer, again, isn't to run from it, but to go into the wound. And why are men misbehaving this way? Why are women falling? The idea is to find healing, not to sort of start all over again. I can't recommend enough the works of John Paul the Great in this realm, the theology of the body. That is the blueprint. That is the foundation. That's the anthropology we all need to go back to. Masculinity is a gift. Femininity is a gift. And if we just wipe it out, we're giftless. We're going to be also floundering, and it's just not the answer.
William, thanks so much for that question. 888-31-TRUTH is our number. Our guest is Bill Donahue. We're talking about the new movement called Rise. You can find it at menriseup.org. Maybe not a new approach to, certainly not a new approach to masculinity and maleness and being a man and all that, but a very, very old one, one that the roots of which we can trace back to Abraham, and certainly through the person of Jesus, who showed us the perfect way to be a man. And I do think in some ways, and I'll throw this out at you, Bill, see what you think. Men need to be of service. I do think we need something to put ourselves at the service of. It may well be the case for women as well. I'm just as not a woman, I'm not going to try to go there. But I know that men, if you give them if you ask a heroic sacrifice of them, in a certain way, we're almost relieved when you do, because that's what we were looking for. And our world is a world of leisure, though. Our world is a world of comfort and all that. So is this part of the Rise movement as well, to help men identify that call to be something so much more?
Yes, I love it. And this is what inspired us in the beginning. We all the guys on board, Chris Stefanik, myself, Chris Cope, Philip Braun, the filmmakers, some of the guys from the Humanum films that were put out a couple of years ago, David Kang, Sean Schiavelin, they're all part of the development here. We, in storyboarding our week-long, our 30-day challenge, and we all knew that men are called, just as you said, Cy, to become this total gift. To boil it down, masculinity is this. It's summed up in the phrase of Jesus, the perfect man. This is my body given up for you. That's the soundtrack of every man's life. And when you go through the Rise Challenge, slowly but surely we mature into that point that you have got to become a gift. You receive your life first as a gift from God. That's kind of in week 1. And by week 4, you give your life as a gift, and that's gospel. If the seed falls and dies and falls into the earth, it brings forth new life. The only way to save the culture is us men becoming saints that way and giving our whole body, blood, and humanity for our brides, for the church. There's no other way. And it's inscribed in our humanity as men. And it's nothing to be afraid of. It's actually it's what we're called to be.
And it's and as much as we love or we have a certain affection for the American meritocracy and all that, it's not about advancement as much as it is about self-mastery.
Yes, great point. Yeah, there's this since the fall in the beginning, what was supposed to be a kind of dominion over creation, stewardship, and our dominion over ourselves, right? Our passion, our eros. It turned into domination, and it's been a train wreck. Self-mastery means I guide my will, my intellect guides my passions, my desires. I'm an integrated man, and that is actually so attractive to women. Women want to find a man who has that self-mastery. The 30-day challenge is really a kind of way to hone that and become that total gift. And we've been hearing great stuff from the women saying, "Wow, this is." Thank you, because it's helping men realize what they're called to be. That's a true man. Anything less is not fully man.
You've probably heard this complaint about men. I know it's certainly not true about me, but other men, I will say, don't listen.
Here it comes.
Do you ever hear that? Do you have anything in there about maybe part of laying down your life for another is like listening when they're talking to you?
Yes, I love it. I was going to say I wasn't listening. Can you repeat that? But
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. As we go through, we try to make the deep, the talk that goes right to the heart, Stephanic's words. In the daily challenges, we try to say, okay, practically live this. When you go home from work today, ask your wife how her day was and listen. Don't interject. Don't try to top her story with your story.
Yeah.
But literally just be attentive. Look in your children's eyes for 3 minutes. Just gaze at your wife, and listen. And yeah, it's been challenging but beautiful. The results are like, wow, this is really good for me and for my family.
Amen. Bill Donahue is our guest. More of your calls for him after the break. We're talking about masculinity. We're talking about maleness. We're talking about this new movement that Bill is at the forefront of, called Rise, that you can find out more about at menriseup.org. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live right after this.
We're here for you. Call now. Catholic Answers Live.
We live in an age of indifference. Does truth exist? Maybe. Is there a God? Who knows? Does it matter what religion you believe in? Probably not. If you think so, fine. I'm spiritual, but not religious. Apologist Matt Nelson says this indifference is the great spiritual sickness of our age, a product of the relativism that dominates our culture. And rather than remain indifferent, he did something about it. In his new book, Just Whatever, Matt looks at the different kinds of indifference you likely encounter in your friends and family members, and maybe in yourself, and offers an antidote to the problem that plagues our age. Order your copy of Just Whatever today by calling 1-888-291-8000, logging on to the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Sharing the gospel with family and friends can be challenging. It's especially hard when they won't even hear you out because of all the mental roadblocks they've built up. This is Carlo Broussard, and in my new book, Prepare the Way, my aim is to help you tackle that essential first step to apologetics and evangelization, getting people to listen with an open mind. Even our best witness can bounce right off folks like these if we don't prepare the way first, breaking down barriers and leaving minds and souls free to encounter the truth. I'll give you evidence and arguments and step-by-step strategies based on asking the right questions to help them overcome their obstacles and make a straight path for the Lord. Order your copy of Prepare the Way today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
The
Trump administration rolls back the Health and Human Services contraceptive mandate.
U.S. bishops calling for the total elimination of nuclear weapons.
Pope Francis offers prayers for the victims of the California wildfires.
The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a bill banning abortions after 20 weeks.
And Pope Francis says the death penalty is contrary to the gospel.
Your link to news headlines Catholics count on at the top of the hour. Weekdays on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Killett, your host, and I have neglected to remind you, so I want to remind you now that our annual spring sale is ongoing. All books, CDs, DVDs, ebooks, tracks, and MP3s are on sale. The sale runs from now until Carrie Beck says it's over, or until the spring is over. I assume until the spring is over. Use promo code SPRING18 at checkout. You save 15% on whatever you order from our books, CDs, DVDs, ebooks, tracks, and MP3s. Just visit shop.catholic.com. Shop.catholic.com and get your 15% off of everything there right now during our spring sale. Bill Donahue is our guest. Bill Donahue is a curriculum specialist at the Theology of the Body Institute. He's an author, an instructor, and he is one of the founders, or what shall we say? Yeah, founders. Let's go. One of the people who has developed this Rise 30-day challenge, which is becoming something of a movement, and it's very, very good for men, and that's why we're talking about it. menriseup.org is where you can go to find out more about it. menriseup.org. Lots of calls for you, Bill. Shall we take some more?
Sure, happy to.
All right. Bob in Buffalo, New York, listening on the Station of the Cross. You are on with Bill Donahue. Your question, please.
Hi.
Hi,
Bob.
Bob.
Of all, thanks for doing this. I love the community aspect that you came up with online. I'm definitely going to look into getting involved.
Well, you got like
really
3
great
hours
double
left
like
now,
stuff.
because it's the 30-day challenge starts in just a few hours. Actually, on the West Coast,
I know.
we can wait till the morning, right? Here in the West Coast, that's all right. Or
Yeah. And you can start in the next couple days. You can kind of catch up. But yeah.
oh, okay, all right. Sorry to interrupt you, Bob.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just saying I really feel like the devil likes to cut men off and then
Yes.
squeeze. So it's really great that there's that community aspect.
Right.
I was wondering, because I've become very interested in chivalry and the very traditional understanding of it from the medieval period. I was wondering if you had looked into any of that when you were working on this program.
Wow. Yeah, I guess in a wide way, I've kind of been drawn to it, loved it, fascinated by it, but haven't delved in very deeply, and it's not in. So then it didn't touch into the Rise development. But I will say everything, for I guess 30 years, John Paul II has been such an inspiration to me, and I really see him as iconic in the realm of chivalry. I mean, everything he wrote about women and the way he indirectly challenged men has definitely inspired it. So I think that idea of being a steward and a custodian of the beauty of woman, kind of being the frame to spotlight and highlight her dignity and her worth, that is absolutely part of Rise. Just really to have that sense that woman is, as John Paul II would say, right, the masterpiece of God and this tabernacle of the Most High. So we try to get men to realize that, especially if they're married. Rise can be for any man, single, celibate, married. But to recognize the incredible, infinite value of woman is definitely at the heart of it, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was reading some of the old manuals, and there's a very intense sort of masculinity to chivalry, but very powerful. None of that toxic stuff, as they might say.
Tonic, right? That's the new word, the tonic.
Yeah.
Which is the good. It's the good stuff. And really, it's funny, Bob. When men live authentic masculinity, the woman's response is, "Wow, thank you," and they're drawn. They're attracted to it because it's. John Paul II once said that masculinity and femininity complete and explain one another. And so that's why it's so important that we discover what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to behave, and then we find that kind of fullness. I think both sides benefit.
Okay, Bob?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I mean, really the point of the chivalric codes, and you said you were reading when you say you were reading the manuals, you're reading them from the 11 or 1200s, these manuals for men from the Middle Ages?
Ravenwall wrote in the 1200s, and Geoffrey de Charny wrote in, I think it was the 1500s, a bit later.
Yeah. And the idea was that manhood is as great a gift as it is. So we have fallen natures, and it needs to be directed. And I do think that's a great deal of what chivalry was about. And the way that it's directed in the chivalrous code is towards the defense and the promotion of sometimes one woman, sometimes more. But the idea is that, as you said, you can't be a man without serving others, Bill. You just can't. That's part of what it is to be a man.
No, and it's interesting. It's interesting too, to Bob's point about this time period in our history, is that the cult of Mary, or the Marian devotion, was also kind of connected to that period of history. So that tells you something. Mary helps us understand, as Catholic men, Mary also helps us understand how to love women, and to see them all as, in the Song of Songs it says, my sister, my bride, to look at all women first as a sister in a common humanity, and then potentially the intimacy of a bride, of her spouse. But Mary plays a key role in all of this, and we definitely, in preparing Rise, we opened our hearts to Mary and said, guide us through this. I know when I was doing the content, Mary formed me to be a good man, to be a true man, and help us, all men, to become who we're called to be.
Bob, thanks very much for that question. Let's go to Brett in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, listening on 100.9 FM. Brett, your question for Bill Donahue.
Hi, Bill. I really appreciate you guys answering my question. I was really wanting to talk, and I've been listening how you guys had really established, masculinity, if you look anywhere, it's been under attack. It's been under the attack. It's part of really the social decay that we see. I've seen me, I'm only like 24 years old, and I see men my age, men even younger than me, out on the streets. I see them drug addicts, hopeless, don't have a job, don't have anything, don't have any kind of future. And anywhere I see in the media, anywhere I see the music, anywhere I see anything, it's just kind of under attack. And men have kind of gone to any outlet they can, really. They've gone to addiction, they've gone to drugs, they've gone to alcohol, they've gone to just this self-destructive path. And me, I come from a family of addicts. I've got, I don't know how many friends who've overdosed from opioids and, just all these painkillers and drugs and, alcohol poisoning. And it's really just a sad social decay. And the fact that you are doing this kind of program, to remind men, yes, we have a purpose. Yes, we have a existence. Yes, we have this kind of thing. And I was just curious what this Rise program, this challenge, not program, I apologize, but this challenge to kind of cope, to have men cope with the temptations and the just kind of that self-destructive path that we face nowadays, to like the tools to fight that off, the tools to do away with these drugs and these temptations, and I was just curious about that.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. We do, with the wide net of Rise, again, not being intensely theological in its language or intellectual, but a wide net, at the same time, it's a deep Christian anthropology. We say to men, we're broken, we're wounded, but where do we go? The waterfall that we should be standing under is the grace of the sacraments. So we say, we say one of our challenges in the 30 days is go to confession as soon as humanly possible. When we talk about in that day of the challenge, the brokenness and the sin in our lives, we say, get it out and get it cleaned up. And we talk about the importance of the Eucharist. Throughout the entire 30-day challenge, every man who takes the challenge is invited to get an accountability partner, a brother. It could be your literal brother, a cousin, a coworker, a friend, a parishioner, and you check in for a couple of minutes each day and say, how was your challenge? How are you doing today? Great. This was hard for me, whatever. And the online community as well. So, that Christian fellowship, Christian brotherhood, and accountability has been awesome. We find that as the days develop, guys start sharing their deepest fears, and it's always the same thing. They could be all around the world, thousands of men all across the country, and they're saying the same things: a struggle with a fear of failure, my own personal weakness. And when they start all sharing that same stuff, and we say, okay, the sacraments, then healing comes. We've had guys return to confession after 25 years, 30 years. Guys coming out of addiction and saying this is hitting the spot in a deeper way because we're acknowledging Christ is the answer to fill the hole in the heart. So I guess it's that deep Catholic identity undergirding it all and wrapping it in prayer that is giving it sort of a little B12 shot, a little bit extra to get guys through this transformation.
All right. Well, excellent. Like I said at the beginning, I appreciate that. I appreciate what you guys are doing, what, this challenge that you're getting done, because that's what men need in today's society more than anything. This kind of, that's the only thing that can actually stop this path of self-destruction.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right, Brett. Thank you, Brett. How much do you think men just need to be reminded that their manhood is good? That it's do you know what I'm saying, Bill?
It's huge. Yes. In fact, I think one of the quotes, I developed a daily little inspirational quote for each of the 30 days, and I think one of them was towards the end. John Paul the Great, he once said, he said, "Be not afraid," so many times in his pontificate. Be not afraid. Towards the end of his life, he wrote, "Of what should we not be afraid?" And he said, "Don't be afraid of the truth of who you are." And that just struck me. He once said we should be reconciled to our natural greatness. I mean, guys need to hear that. Be reconciled to our natural greatness. We have a high vocation. It's an incredible call. And be not afraid. Rise up. That's the whole point, discovering who we really are.
Bill Donahue is our guest. Rise is the new movement, and we'll talk more about that when we come back on Catholic Answers Live right after this.
Hello, my friends. This is Christopher Check, president of Catholic Answers. Did you know that Catholic Answer speakers, including yours truly, travel all over the globe speaking at conferences, parish events, high schools, and colleges? If you would like to bring a Catholic Answer speaker to your neck of the woods, visit CatholicAnswerSpeakers.com. That's CatholicAnswerSpeakers.com. We look forward to seeing you.
We live in an age of indifference. Does truth exist? Maybe. Is there a God? Who knows? Does it matter what religion you believe in? Probably not. If you think so, fine. I'm spiritual, but not religious. Apologist Matt Nelson says this indifference is the great spiritual sickness of our age, a product of the relativism that dominates our culture. And rather than remain indifferent, he did something about it. In his new book, Just Whatever, Matt looks at the different kinds of indifference you likely encounter in your friends and family members, and maybe in yourself, and offers an antidote to the problem that plagues our age. Order your copy of Just Whatever today by calling 1-888-291-8000, logging on to the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Catholic Answers Live is brought to you in part by CatholicSingles.com, the website for Catholics who want to meet others who share their faith and values for faith, fellowship, and love. You can learn more at CatholicSingles.com. Catholic Answers Live thanks CatholicSingles.com for their generous support.
Catholic Answers is a media ministry that serves Christ by explaining and defending the Catholic faith. We help Catholics grow in their faith, we bring former Catholics home, and we lead non-Catholics into the fullness of the truth. Our goal is to be the most trusted and accessible source for sharing, explaining, and defending the Catholic faith through as many media as possible, from personal contact to the most innovative means of mass communication. Have questions? We've got answers. Catholic Answers. Visit us today at Catholic.com or call us with your questions at 619-387-7200.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Bill Donahue is our guest. Bill and Chris Stefanik have started a new website that you can visit, menriseup.org, especially if you'd like to take part in this Rise, a 30-day challenge to help men design, craft a battle plan for life. The start date for that is tomorrow, And so we're just so fortunate to have Bill here to discuss it. So you don't even have time to think about it. Just get on menriseup.org right now and sign up. Then there's going to be another date, Bill, September 17th of this year. You're going to do a great big giant one. Is that right?
That's right. That's going to be our worldwide challenge, September 17th, where all the parishes that have been reviewing and going through, and all the men who've already done it, really start pushing Rise, get it out there, share how it's affected you, and get new men on board, so that we have literally hundreds of thousands of men resetting themselves, getting reoriented with their relationship with God, with their brothers, with their families, and we need this now more than ever. The tonic of masculinity, good for the world.
Find out more at menriseup.org. You can also follow Bill Donahue at Bill Donahue. And Bill, your last name is maybe not spelled the way people will expect. So it's Bill, Donaghy, at Bill Donahue. And that you can find him on Twitter and Instagram and the Facebook and the whatever else. I don't know. What else is there now? Name one more. Anybody?
Snapchat, which I've never understood. I didn't know what that means.
You said Snapchat, but you're not on Snapchat. You just tried to look cool. Look, a real man doesn't try to look cool, man. He just says, I don't know.
Fail.
All right, come on, epic fail of masculinity right there. Let's take a call from Carl in Dallas, Texas. Carl, thanks for waiting. You're on with Bill Donahue. Your question, please, Carl.
Bill, it seemed like in my grandfather's time there was more clarity and satisfaction. Even working class guys, they were looked up to by their family. They were expected to be leaders, and they were respected, by the community. And now we just don't seem to have that payoff, and it just seems more confusing. And I'd like to get your thought on how we can, operate in this new environment.
Yeah, I guess that's a great insight there, Carl. I guess it's a difficult one, because we are but we're moving through our age, which isn't always perfect. There might be golden ages where things sort of lined up rightly and natural law and reason were in place. But things are shifting since the Industrial Revolution. We just have such it's turmoil. The kind of hierarchy of things that once was laid out is different. I think, there's some things that are good. There are stereotypes, which are culture bound, and some should change. And then there's archetypes, which are the more cosmic realities, especially with masculinity and femininity. I think today, for a man to provide, right, to lead and to provide, maybe it's different than just the economic contribution or the job that he holds, but it still holds. Like, there's a headship, there's a hierarchy, there's a leadership, and there's a provision that men give. I guess we have to be kind of creative in understanding what that looks like. But the stereotype is that you're the breadwinner, that's it. Some of that stuff is shifting. I don't think it takes away from our masculinity. I'm thinking of my brother-in-law right now. He's a stay-at-home dad. Economically, his wife's work just it makes more sense. But it certainly doesn't take away from his headship in the family, his leadership, and his being a spiritual guide and leader in the family. I don't know if this is making sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's help in some ways. Cutting through the stereotypes is good, but we can't lose sight of the archetypes. Men are called to provide. Men are called to lead. That doesn't change.
Carl, what do you make of that? Carl, did we lose Carl? Carl was blown over by that. I'm just going to tell you right now. Yeah,
what do you think of that?
He was, I think that's right. Like I was struck by that idea that there are things that are archetypally male, and that they're going to have different expressions in different cultures. In different, like in one culture it means you're a great fisherman, in another culture it means you're a great farmer. It doesn't always mean that one particular thing, but it has to do with how you're doing that thing as a servant, as for others, as a father, but like you said, you're a provider. These are basic things that men must do because of our own nature, not because we're trying to show off for anybody, not because we're trying to take over something, but because that's our nature. Right. And I'm sure that I don't know. I'm sure. Well, I'll throw this to you, Bill. It probably is not infinitely pliable. I mean, there's certainly things that no, that won't work.
Right.
But it's
and I think because we're in time, we're in flux. I mean, it is changing cultural things, but they're all are so cosmic things. Absolutely. I mean, I think about my grandfather who came over from Ireland and raised 10 kids with my grandmother, and he was the provider. But my father doesn't remember once hearing "I love you." He doesn't remember learning how to pray at the hands of his father. His father was always working, and he was the quiet man. So and he never changed a diaper. He never prepared dinner or helped with it.
Yeah.
So there are some stereotypes there that could have changed, but
Right.
he certainly provided. Yeah.
Right, and certainly you could say I'm the provider today, but and not listen to your children, not spend time with them. I mean, how many adult men are like, I wish my dad would have just listened. I wish he just would have, like I didn't need anything from him more. I just needed him to spend a minute with me or something. I actually just saw somebody doing a TV interview saying just that about their dad, and you feel sad, like that dad. He did do the provider thing, maybe, but he didn't get the whole thing about being at the service of others completely. He got a little part of it.
That's exactly one of the comments we address, one of the content things we address in the Rise Challenge in the 4th week when we talk about fatherhood. We actually challenge the men to write a letter to their father, living or dead, talking about, what was the dysfunction or what were the gifts? What are you grateful for? But what were some of the wounds maybe? Address the father wound. We talk about, Stefanik has a video where he talks about, your father wasn't perfect and you're not going to be perfect either. But we have a heavenly father, and that's definitely a wound that we unpack and talk about in the 30-day challenge.
I was thinking about getting it for my son, who's a 19-year-old, but if you're going to start saying things like your father's not perfect to him, forget it. No way I'm getting that.
You better take it to prayer side. Take it to prayer.
Ann in Huntley, Illinois, listening on WSFI. You are on with Bill Donahue. Hi, Ann.
Hi. So, how are you doing?
Good.
Hi, Ann. Hello.
So, as you can tell, I'm a woman, not a man.
Thank you.
But this sort of challenge and these sort of groups really get me excited because I can really see the need for it, and I know I personally try very hard to encourage the men around me to live up to their full masculinity, and sometimes that looks like asking them to do something that I know I could do on my own, but encouraging them to give a little. But I guess my question for you is what do you think is one of the best things or a few of the best things that women can do to encourage men to live up to their full potential?
Wow. Thank you, Ann. I love that you're calling. We just love to hear your voice after all these men, that you're a couple.
I know it is kind of a relief, huh?
It's refreshing. Yes. But Ann, I mean, really, thank you. And just, I think prayer and encouragement, and we have built into Rise the idea of a gift, like a gift subscription, like share it. We know that's also, women can feel sometimes a little reticent because they don't want to nag or they don't want to seem pushy. But I think just that offering, saying, I want you to just be your whole self, be a happy and full man, and I'm praying for you, and I want to encourage you to be that man. That is such a, man, thank you. We want that. So by sharing something like Rise, sharing the Rise Challenge would be fantastic. Just to encourage us. You lift us up. You support us and encourage us, and women always have done that for men. I think that's a powerful thing for us all, that we that you actually want us to be full men in the image of God, and that it's possible and we're capable of it.
Okay, Ann?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that call. Let's go to Kay in Ohio, listening on to EWTN on Sirius Satellite Radio. Kay, you are on with Bill Donahue. Your question.
Hi there. I was listening while I was driving, and one of the things I don't hear people talking about is the direct correlation between what a man does as it relates to authority to children. And that is something I don't hear many people talk about, and that is why we have prisons just beaming full of people, because they've not grown up with men or no man or idiot men that don't know how to be an authority figure to their children. And I am tired of how we have feminized men, because there are specific traits that men and women have that we pass on to our children, and they in turn pass those on generationally. And a big one, people talk about gangs and criminals and all of that stuff. Bottom line is, that's what represents authority. And if you grow up absent a father in the home, you also are absent teaching children how to be respectful of authority as demonstrated by their father and mother. But the father, and if you go and look at sociological studies, that's buried somewhere. I've worked in the criminal justice world, and you don't hear people talking a lot about that anymore, because we have homogenized and feminized men to the point where men don't even know what the heck they're supposed to be doing.
Kay, just because we're short on time, I want to let Bill respond to that. Thank you so much, Kay.
Yeah. Kay, thank you for saying that, and I agree 100%. The very first day, tomorrow, May 1st, is our next 30-day challenge, and Christophonic, literally what you just said, is in the content of the first video tomorrow morning. So day one addresses right off the bat some of the statistics of when men don't rise up, when men are absent, when they're not present. It's just providential that you're saying this, Kay, right now. So it's a fatherhood crisis, and really Rise is all about becoming this tonic of masculinity for men, so they know, just as you said, there's an authority here, a God-given authority. It's not meant to be this a bullying or a domination, but a reverent stewardship and a dominion over the family, which is love. It's led by love. When a man's called to lead, he's called to lead through love. It's not the iron fist. And the firmness that you're talking about, the authority, is an authority that is Christ-like, who knelt down and washed the feet of his apostles. We challenge men through Rise to really be servant leaders, to be lovers and custodians of the family. And that is, as you just said, that's restoring the right structure.
Bill, I got to say thanks right there. Listen, I just want to say the website again, menriseup.org. If you need a refresh, if you need to hit a reset button a little bit in your manhood and your walk with God and with your spouse and with others, try that out. It starts tomorrow. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Si.